First off, thank you so much. I'm overwhelmed at the crowd here. This has been as Edith knows, a long project for me. I couldn't be more excited, so I'm going to try to contain myself. I've got 4 speakers here, and what I want them to do, frankly, is to cover the 4 elements I think you want to care about for why we built this and what it's going to look like and how it's going to be used in the future. The first will be on the design. The very unique design of the project. I've got Sean Martino from KTGY on that. The second will be on the construction. I have Larry Kent, wherever he is. We'll be spend a few minutes on that. Then the third is going to be what our use is going to be. If you remember, if you attended the city council meetings back in, well, you didn't attend them because it was COVID, but when you saw the meetings there, we talked about a multifunctional art gallery where we were not just going to have art, we were going to have, in fact, a flexibility inside, so it allows us to do workshops, to do forums, to do special events. We're going to have a high-end cafe in the middle there, so it's going to be quite complicated. So I'm going to have Ellie, who's my gallery manager, talk to you about the use of that. And then fourth, I thought it might be helpful to know a little bit about why I think and we think that Morgan Hill can be an extraordinary place for art. And I've got one of the more talented sculptors, local sculptors now, Marion, I hope it's a Marion, I forgot where to put the accent, who's going to talk to you a little bit about the purpose of art at Morgan Hill and what we think we can accomplish. So with that, I'm almost ready to start, but before I do, most of you know that I've been working on this project for this instantiation of the project since COVID, 2020. At the time, I approached KTGY, which is the architects in Los Angeles, and told them that what I wanted is I wanted to build a special contemporary building. I wanted to do the multifunctions I talked about, but I also wanted it to be essentially a piece of art in its own right. Which he said, okay, no problem. I said, well, then the complication is that it's going to be in downtown Morgan Hill, and downtown Morgan Hill is a wonderful, wonderful city in transition. So we have an eclectic architecture here, but nothing we have here is going to relate to the kind of view I had in mind for the gallery. So you have to kind of make sure you don't stick out and merge it somehow. And on top of that, I wanted to reflect what I think is Morgan Hill is absolutely one of the most beautiful areas in Santa Clara County, and I wanted the building to reflect that. So Sean sent multiple submittals through the early parts of COVID. Incidentally, Edith, if you thought this was an aggressive design, you should have seen the ones I rejected. Even my wife, who's very flexible, said, "What are you thinking?" But we picked this one. So I might have Sean talk about that. So then the next problem was, in the middle of COVID, how is the community going to respond to it? In particular, how is the city officials and how is the city council and how is the mayor going to respond to it? Because if I don't get their support, not just their affirmation, but their strong support, we're going to have all kinds of problems. So in the midst of COVID, the inability to talk one-on-one, Zooming all the time and texting all the time, we made our presentation, and I frankly didn't know how it would go. It went wonderfully, and we have representatives from that session here today. And so I want to personally thank Mayor Constantine. I want to thank John. Who's John? John. Gino. And my one holdout that came through at the very end, Ms. Martina Beltrans, who voted. So I had 5 and 0. So I can't thank you enough. I really thought that was going to be the hard problem. Then it took a little while because of COVID, like 16 months. But here we are at the groundbreaking ceremony. If you can see that my contractor, Larry Kent, kind of didn't get the date right in groundbreaking. We've been groundbreaking for 3 weeks, but I'm happy for that too. That's it. That's what I want to talk about. I think when we have the grand opening, I'll tell you a little bit more about what I think we can accomplish in Morgan Hill in the arts field. But I want to save that time for when we have our formal opening. I want to introduce our first speaker, and this is the design element I was telling you about. The speaker is Sean Martino. Sean is a senior architect at KTGY in Los Angeles. Sean has been with me from the very beginning of all these instantiations. Sean's company, actually Sean and his company, did the design for the Granada Hotel, and so he's very experienced in that. So without further ado, I'm going to have Sean come in and give us a few words.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm very excited to be a part of this project and helping Dan with his vision. It's been just a journey that we've gone through, and I've just really enjoyed it. And he took most of my comments from me about what I was going to talk about the design. But anyway, I'll repeat some of them. But yes. But yeah, so it was definitely a unique experience. So when Dan approached us about what his vision was and how do we make this happen, we know what Dan wants. But we also have to understand who the community is and who the people are around that are going to experience this, whether it's people that are living in the community or people coming to visit. So there's a lot that we play into it, and also looking at the surroundings. I mean, the view from where I'm looking right now, it's amazing. So there's elements that we took into the design to really make it fit into here, but also take it to the next step. To help the town grow to the next step, but also paying homage to its tradition. So a lot of it is where that came with the design. One of the things that we had to work with on the challenge is also the theme of floodplain here. So we had to raise the building. So that made it interesting how we would make that approach and have it being welcoming and an experience for everybody, where it's not an afterthought of how you make that transition of 2 feet up. So there's a lot that was thought in about how that integrated with the sidewalk and the pedestrians and just inviting people in. So as that movement coming in, but also we had the movement happening with the actual building itself, as you can see with on the side there where the stair goes up to the second floor, that brings a lot of people, draws them in. So there's a lot of things that we brought in to help people draw them into this space. And like I think Dan might have mentioned, it's kind of a beacon for Morgan Hill, a beacon for art, a beacon for the community and stuff like that. So there's a lot that we thought about that. And also how we played with the heights. When you look to my left, the building's a little shorter on this side. And then when you look to the right, the building's a little taller on that side. So we played with that also with the scaling of the actual building itself. So it really fit in with the community itself. And then just the materials, we looked at the materials around Morgan Hill. We also worked with the planning department to understand what their visions and goals were of where they see downtown Morgan Hill going. So that's what we really worked a lot with that. Then we also carried that into the inside space. We were fortunate enough, I think just when Dan approached us, we actually acquired an interior design firm. So we were able to do the whole design in-house, both the architecture and interior design. So it was a really great process. So working with our interior design team, they looked a lot about what we did with the architecture, and they looked at ways to bring that into the space. And then we brought that into the space, so you get the inside and the outside kind of pulling yourself in and out of the building. But also then working with Ellie about how that space wants to work and how it's going to be laid out. We've made some very unique ways to display the art and also store the art, where it doesn't look like storage, it looks more like an art piece. And again, back to the building, it's more about creating a sculpture, but also carrying that all the way through the space, but also making it a space that's inviting. It's not just about art, but about bringing community into the space and enjoying that space by having the gallery, having a flex space on the second floor to allow people to use that space too for various uses, having the small cafe to have a little place for people to sit down and enjoy themselves. So there's a lot about the materials and how we carried that through the building, but then also making it very functional. I could talk. I don't, but I mean, this is just an exciting moment for me. I mean, and our firm. So, but it's just a lot about. It was an opportunity to do a lot. That sometimes we're focused more on the architecture, just what the programmers use, but this was really a team effort. I mean, with us, Dan, the city, just input from the community too. So it was a lot to be able to be a part of that. And it's really, and then the other thing is we did on the inside is we're using a mass timber, which I think a lot of people maybe have been hearing that term being thrown around recently. So under the new code, there's a new section that allows mass timber to build wood stories or wood framing up to 18 stories. So we approached this with mass timber also. It's also a very sustainable material to use, but when we're leaving a lot of it exposed, so you don't have to cover it up. So I don't know if you know about the previous design. We had a 3-story building that was steel, and you have to trust steel. You don't want to see steel framing. So this, we're able to expose the structure, really make it a part of the space, and also just what we built around it. It's a really nice, warm feeling, and it's inviting, and you want to be a part of that space. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of layers to this, and I don't know, now I'm lost for words, but yeah. I'm going to tap out. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Okay, great. One thing I did want to say before I introduce the next speaker is that everybody's talked about how long this was. It was a long process, but I was guided through the whole thing, and I was supported through the whole thing by one city employee who just did an extraordinary job for me from the very, very beginning, even the very first instantiation. And I'd like to give her a special round of applause for just unbelievable work. I wasn't always the gentlest horse to ride, probably wrong, but she did a wonderful job through this whole thing, and that's Edes Ramirez. So it did everything. In addition to when I wanted to demolish the building that was here, which was eminently demolishable, I was worried about now having a vacant lot in downtown Morgan Hill, and Edith came up with the idea of the park, pop-up park, and we set that up, and I think that was wonderful. And so she just did I can't thank her enough. There was another woman there who helped in the beginning, but then she left, so we won't mention Leslie Little. But she also did a great job. Now with that, so now you know about the design, and Sean, absolutely, I know from my Billings, can talk forever, but he didn't. So now we want to talk a little bit about the construction. The construction, Larry estimates, is going to be 4.5 months, or maybe a little bit more. So it's going to be Larry Kent of Kent Construction, who's been with us, been in this community for 30 years. He's everywhere right now. I don't know what kind of explosion's happening here, but I see Kent Construction everywhere. It makes my mind. He's responsible for the Granada Hotel development. He also did the St. Catherine's. That's a little bit of mass timber, if you know what we're trying to talk about. If you go by St. Catherine's and you see that those exposed laminar beams, that's a little bit of mass timber work going on. But anyway, Larry has been working with me. I didn't know Larry super well till we started this whole project. He's become a great business friend, and I really like the way he's approaching it. And I really do hope that we get this thing done so that no pressure whatsoever. It's not completely your fault that it took me 18 months to get permits, Larry, but let's pretend that it was, and so now you have to make it up. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Larry Kent.
Thank you, Dan. Good morning. My name is Larry Kent, as he said, with Kent Construction. Got my yellow pad here. First of all, I wanted to thank Dan for coordinating and hosting this groundbreaking event. I know it's been a long time coming, and lots of blood, sweat, and tears up to this point. And there are various, like you mentioned, various building types. It was 2 stories, it was 3 stories, it was a restaurant, it's a wine bar, it's a gallery. Now it's kind of all of the above. Going through the permitting process, all that fun stuff that we do every day. But thank you for your diligence, your dedication, and for your vision for downtown. And it will be a great addition to the downtown, this cornerstone building. And it'd be great for the community as well. So thank you for entrusting Kent Construction with this vision of yours. And thank you for prioritizing hiring a local general contractor. I think that's important, obviously, because I'm here in town. But we do hire local subcontractors. We hire local vendors and suppliers, and all who hire local workers. So your investment pays dividends down the road. So and for the community. So thank you for that. Sean, I worked with Sean on a few projects in KTGY. We have a good history together, and it's really assembled a great team, I think, and I think that's what it takes to get something like this going, where we all have the same goal and end result. So you're in good hands with your vision, I believe. And then the architecture. Sean kind of mentioned it before, but it's a mass timber structure with the CLT panels, and it's kind of one of a kind, cutting edge. The CLT is supposed to speed up production. I don't know about 4.5 months, but we'll try. And then there's some other materials that are kind of innovative and extra exciting on patents. But I really do think it's ironic that we're building an art gallery when really the building itself is going to be a piece of art. And so when it's all done, I think you're really going to be happy with what your vision, and hopefully we can get there together. But I think now it's just, hey, I hope we can see all of you in 1 year from now, a little over a year from now, and be here for the grand opening. It's going to be a beautiful building for Morgan Hill and for the downtown. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Larry. Yeah, so Larry's become more of a friend. I do a daily text to him. We're going through cost now. We're doing bidding process and some of the stuff. And back when we first started bidding this thing, my business is more technology and finance. So I went online and I found out what the lumber rate is in 1,000 board feet for. And at the time I was first bidding, it was $1,600 per 1,000 board feet. It's now down to $492 this morning. So I'm expecting 1/4 of the cost that you previously quoted me, and we're all here listening to it, right? 1/4 the cost in 4.5 months. That's my guy. All right. So next, in the grand opening, I'd like to spend more time talking about what I think Morgan Hill can really advance to in the general area of art. But I wanted to have someone who could give us a little conversation about that right now. Someone who's local, someone who's an extraordinary fine artist herself. And so I asked if she wouldn't mind for Marlena Marion to come in and give us a few words about art in general and the potential for art explosion in South County. Marlene?
I'm really honored to be here today, and for a long time I've looked forward to a beautiful gallery here in Morgan Hill, and I'm going to give you a few of my thoughts about the arts and community today. Oop, I know why I can't see. I'd like you all to pause for just a moment and think about all the great civilizations that have come and gone. Greece, Egypt, Rome. What were our most prized remaining possessions that they had that we enjoy today? Well, their art and architecture. Art has always been an important part of human society since the beginning of time. Art has been used as a tool for cultural exchange, education, and expression. Art is significant to society, and it serves to fulfill our sense of beauty and wonder about the world, and provides an outlet for creative expression and documentation of history. So that brings me to a little bit about myself. My husband and I have been living here since 1974. When we moved out here, it's very rural, mainly orchards, and it's really been idyllic working here in my art studio among the rolling hills and the vineyards and those orchards. And yet, somehow, I always thought in the back of my mind, this could be much more. I envisioned the possibilities how our city might embrace not only its rich historical heritage, but also the fine arts. And that vision was a seed that eventually led to inspire me to create the sculpture on 3rd and Depot Street called Waiting for the Train. Actually, I'll tell you a little bit in between, and that is what really made me kind of upset was standing there one day on that particular corner where the farmer's market is, and having a couple walk up to me and say, "Oh, look, there's Morgan Hill." And I decided that's not going to happen where I live. I changed that. I've always believed that the arts, whether they be visual arts, the literary arts, or performing arts, reflect and enliven our culture, and that communities embrace the arts that embrace the arts provide a richness and exchange of ideas that benefit our overall quality of life. So, in this hectic Silicon Valley era of ours, busy with increasing the number of gigabytes into nanoseconds, isn't it wonderful that we'll be building an art gallery to remind us to stop and smell the roses? How fitting is it that this historical site of the Edes building will become a new and exciting art gallery and wine bar for the enrichment of the community and a showplace for the visual arts. Besides the increased exposure to art and architectural excellence, this art gallery will bring many benefits to our community. It will improve the image of Morgan Hill. It will serve as a showcase for wines and cuisine from our region, and educate local people about their own cultural identity and heritage, and also foster social cohesion and active citizenship. So I'm so pleased to be here today and excited to see how this new art gallery will serve as a catalyst to generate further cultural growth and enrichment here in Morgan Hill. Thank you.
Thank you. Do I have to be a scientist to figure this? Yeah. Oh, that. Yes, I am a degreed engineer. And speaking of that, don't be disparaging gigabytes and nanoseconds. It may be living that way. Wonderful job. I thank you very much. My last speaker is my favorite business person of all time, close. Certainly in the last decade or so. Ellie Herman has been for the last several years the manager of our Calibri Framing, and then in the last year and a half or so, the manager of Calibri Fine Art. And she has been instrumental with me every step of the way on the interior design. I hope you like the exterior, most of you, but I think you're going to love the interior. You're just going to love it. I every time I would get frustrated with the long time to get permits, I would have a meeting with Sean's interior team out of Chicago, along with Ellie, and I just got so excited. And when you see this, it's going to be extraordinary. Like many of you, I've visited many galleries in my life. My wife and I are collectors. I've never seen anything like this, and I just can't wait for you guys to see it 4.5 months from now. With that, my last speaker is my manager. She has a master's in fine art. She was in the academic route for many years. She taught art. She came to Silicon Valley a few years ago, and I was lucky enough to have her come into the framing side, and then a few years later take over the entire operation. She's an extraordinary woman. Please welcome Ellie Herman.
Thank you, Dan. It is such a pleasure to be here with you today. Like Dan said, I joined Calibri in 2017 as a custom framer after years teaching in academia. Who knew that part-time job would turn into my dream job working for Dan and Kathy McCraney? I also get to work with a remarkable team that I've hand-selected. Everyone is an artist and brings a valuable perspective to what they do. I think I still pinch myself about once a week. Working alongside Dan towards his dream of creating a space for art in Morgan Hill has been transformational and so much fun. Thank you for believing in me and trusting me, Dan. Art enriches lives, and we want to make art accessible to all through our exhibitions, events, art workshops, and children's art programming. Our goal is to invigorate the visual arts in Morgan Hill toward becoming an arts destination for the Greater Bay Area, while also promoting incredible artists and the beauty of South County. This building provides a truly unique opportunity to explore combining diverse forms of art, including music, performance, and food, with a desire to bring art and community together. Calibri features contemporary art that is fresh, joyful, and authentic from artists across the Bay Area as well as beyond. We are excited to share, educate, and inspire everyone in this growing community. With this in mind, we wanted to create a fun and inspirational piece of artwork to display on the fence around our construction site. We not only wanted to welcome people to the community we love so much, but we also wanted to create something that would give locals a sense of pride. We took inspiration from a vintage series of postcards, and we thought about the features that make our community so special. From the beauty of our vast natural resources to our vibrant dining and social scene. From our wealth of outdoor recreation to our wine growing region, our history, and our people. My coworker, Abigail Donovan, is a remarkable pastel artist who also creates animation-inspired artwork. She took on these ideas and brought them to life. Thank you for your artistry, Abby. Abby, please come forward. And wave hi. Abby and the rest of the Calibri team, who are Bree, Jack, Ursula, and Amanda, who could not be with us here today, please come forward and help unveil the artwork.